Alright, so we're going to do compositions now. And I do have 2 videos on compositions that I'm working on. This one's going to have a number here so you can see how it works when I have a number. And then my other one's going to have an X so that you can see without the number how you have to keep the X in with them. And I'm going to explain this. I'm going to try to explain this in one of 2 ways. So if you don't like the way I'm initially doing it, I'm going to try to do it a second way as well. The first way kind of keeps in line with the other video so that when you don't have the number, so that it's a little bit more consistent. And then the second way is a different way that would only work with the numbers, and it does not work if you don't have the number there at this space right here. Okay? So we start with f of x and g of x. This is all given to us on the problem. I went ahead and color coded f and g just because it kind of helps my process a little bit better. And then we are told to find, and they call this fog, f little o g. What that little o stands for is the word of. Don't ask me why they don't want to write the f out of. I don't know. But it's f of g is how you would say that. F of g of 3. Now what you need to keep in mind is this is just like f of x. F of g of x. It's still part of the name. F of x is the same thing as y. This is not multiplication. That's where a lot of my students go off. Is they try to get the answer and then multiply it by 3. And I'm like, that's not how it works. This is not multiplication. So I'm going to rewrite this. And this is how I suggest to my students that they should rewrite this. Is take your f, and I did my f in purple. And I'm going to write it as an f of something. Normally it would be f of x. But this is not as simple as that. Okay? Then I'm going to take my next one, the g. Always start with the one that comes first. G goes inside. I did G in blue. So I'm going to do G of. And the whole thing should be kept inside. Now it's not G of x because they did not put an x there. They did G of 3. So on the inside goes whatever was in that last set of parentheses. If it's an x, you put an x. If it's a number, you put a number. And so there's multiple ways you can do this. Again, I'm going to start with one way and then I'll do a second way after it. Okay. So f of g of 3. What that means is we're starting with the outside with the f. And wherever there's an x, we're going to put the g. Okay? So I'm going to start with the f. Starts with a 5. Then it has an x. So I'm just going to put parentheses because it's f of g, not f of x, not f of a number, f of g. So inside here I'm going to put the g, but I want to go ahead and finish the f so I don't forget about that 3. Plus 3. Then inside the parentheses, I'm going to put what's inside the parentheses here. Inside the parentheses here, it starts with a g. So I'm going to put g. But instead of an x, I'm going to put the open parentheses again. So g, we have a 4 times x, which x is not an x, minus 1. And instead of the x, I'm going to put what's inside the last set of parentheses. 3. So if you color code this, it's a little bit easier to see. I have the purple function, I have the blue function, and I have the black number. It just makes it a little bit easier for us to visualize, especially if you're one of those visual learners. Okay? So once you get this, from this point on, it's order of operations. You start inside the parentheses. I can't do anything to 3, so that inside of the parentheses is done. So then you go to inside the next set of parentheses. And inside here, we're going to do the multiplication. 4 times 3 is 12. And the subtraction, 12 minus 1, is going to be 11. So we get 5 times 11 plus 3. 5 times 11 is 55 plus 3, 58. There is no x in here. There should be no x in your answer. Okay, so this is one way. Separate way. It's going to start off the exact same way. We have f of g of 3, or 3. And so what I can do here is, instead of trying to work it all at once, instead of trying to do it shorter, I can start with g of 3 and say we're going to find g of 3. And what that means, you're going to take g, and everywhere there's an x, you're going to put that 3. So it's just like we did on the inside here. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 minus 1 is 11. That's your g of x. So now we have f of g of 3, and we know g of 3 is 11. So now you're going to take f and do the same thing with the number 11. So I have 5x plus 3. Instead of 5, I'm going to put the 11. I can't write and talk at the same time. 3. Do your multiplication. 5 times 11 plus 3. There's your answer. Both ways work. Different brains think about it differently. You may understand one way, and a person sitting next to you could understand a completely different way. There are more than just these two ways. These are just the two that I tend to teach.